Hallo, voor de les vandaag heb ik een mooi lang artikel gevonden van Mark Cohen, waarvan ik jullie ook de videolink ga sturen naar zijn YouTube-filmpjes. Ik vind zijn video's altijd heel inspirerend. En hij heeft geschreven over what really happens when we stand still. Dus daar ga ik uit voorlezen, dan kunnen jullie dat luisteren terwijl je stilstaande houding doet. The three categories of development. When one begins Zhangzhuang training, their goals generally fall into one of three categories: health and longevity, internal martial power, and mental and spiritual development. And since most all achievement in the internal arts is based on greater and greater relaxation and integration, standing meditation naturally becomes an excellent method of choice for rapid accomplishment. So we find a suitable location, get ourselves into position, correct our alignments, center our feeling, attention in the lower or upper dantian, and then what? It is obvious that over time much happens to the individual during Zhangzhuang practice, such as the transformation of the nerves, healing of various injuries, the acquisition of genuine internal power, and even energizing the brain and expanding consciousness. It is fair to say that nearly all great internal martial artists of the previous centuries acquired their achievement to a major extent by first passing through the gate of Zhangzhuang. So the question becomes, how did they do this? What occurred inside their bodies that allowed them to reach such high levels? The answer to this question has three components: physical, energetic, and the Shen or force. Shen, force, can be thought of as a combination of thing, heart, mind, and yi, intention, as well as that part of us which controls both. As the water settles, the rocks appear. The first thing people generally feel when they begin standing are various discomforts in the physical body. These imbalances are generated by causes such as old injury, energetic blockages, including organ or gland imbalances, psychic emotional karma, and general mental rigidity. In this discussion, we will primarily focus on the physical arena, as these issues must be reckoned with before the other areas become steadily accessible. So what is it exactly that causes our discomfort and pain, and perhaps more importantly, how do we change it and become relaxed? It can be said that all discomfort within the body is caused by incorrect tension between two primary dynamic forces: the descending heaven energy, gravity, sinking yang, and the ascending earth energy, lifting, rising, yin. These can be thought of as opposite pressures, which when not properly equalized create pain, discomfort, or at the very least odd feelings or sensations in the body. These pressures manifest both physically and energetically. Our goal here is to enable a balanced interchange. Following the laws of hydrodynamics, the study of fluids in motion, we can postulate that an imbalance of pressure, either too much or too little, exerted on a liquid within a defined, somewhat flexible membrane like the body, creates actual physical distortion. Eventually, these can become ingrained and also warp the energy body. As these imbalances become habitual, the body adapts and creates a new normal. The definition of normal in this case being what we accept as natural for us, such that no area of the body calls attention to itself. In the case of an injury, normal refers to how things felt before the damage. Of course, the new normal is actually an aberrated pattern. This means that after a time we get used to the imbalance and begin to experience it as normal. The body is often miraculously in its ability to self-heal, and yet this same adaptive ability can also be a double-edged sword, in that what can't be corrected by the body's self-healing eventually gets blotted out of the conscious mind and feeling. When this occurs, the pattern has been locked into the subconscious, and that's where Zhang can be most helpful. The continuous practice of the standing exercise reveals these subconscious patterns and eventually helps resolve them. Muscle blockages and releasing them. When we have a muscular injury, in most cases, the muscle contracts like a spring, upward and inward. If this is not resolved, then ultimately the injured muscle becomes stuck to the bone, fascia, or other nearby muscles. When this happens, the pain or discomfort becomes pretty much constant. To resolve this type of injury, we primarily use the descending, lengthening heaven energy. In extreme cases, it is possible for the opposite to happen. The muscle spring can be so sprung that flaccidity occurs. This can be particularly challenging when tendons and ligaments are involved. In this case, in addition to the descending heaven energy, we must rely heavily on the rising, lifting earth energy to slowly retighten the spring. The good news is, with time, Zhang can resolve and heal many of these injuries. What actually happens is that the contracted muscle elongates and comes unstuck from the bone. This process can sometimes be quite strenuous, especially when long unused, newly freed muscles come back online or when the body attempts to return to the original energy flows that were present before injury. However, with continued practice, these sinews gradually regain their strength, meaning correct dynamic tension, and the soreness vanishes. Please note, if the injury is severe, this process can take a long time. How standing is different from moving exercise. Despite its apparent simplicity, standing meditation is actually one of the most challenging things a person can do. One of the reasons is because Zhang practice requires absolute mental and emotional honesty. Let me explain. When we practice movement, whether it is Tai Chi, Qingyi, or Bagua, especially at the beginning, it is easily possible to do it incorrectly and think we're doing it right. Only later, when the teacher corrects us, do we realize our error. This is where Zhang, standing still, is different. Standing for an extended period of time, 40 minutes a day for health, an hour or more for martial achievements. We cannot deceive ourselves into believing we are relaxed when we are not, because sooner or later some uncomfortable sensation appears to remind us. Therefore, when we finally do achieve some degree of relaxation, we can know it is genuine. Of course, there are many deepening levels of relaxation that become available over the years. An example of this can be a feeling of profound contentment, like we're exactly where we're supposed to be as a human being. Heaven above, the earth below, and we, men or women, in between, nothing to do, nothing to achieve, just pure beingness. Or sometimes we feel as if our muscles are melting. When this occurs, the body will respond to our feeling awareness and release blockages wherever we focus. The same is true of Neikung, energy experiences. When we work with various Taoist alchemies or the like, our imagination becomes so refined that we can create experiences. But the question is, are these feelings and experiences real or just mock-ups of our imagination? With Zhang, standing still, however, There is generally no question whether some energy or feeling is real, since we are not seeking any particular experience, just greater relaxation. When something does happen out of the blue, so to speak, we know it's real because we had no part in trying to create it. Also, after one of these experiences, we are often able to duplicate and utilize the new awareness. Structure versus relaxation. When I first began standing still training, I asked the following question: what is more important, posture or relaxation? The answer I was given after long deliberation was relaxation. While structure is obviously important for many reasons, such as integration and chi flow, for example, it is the ability to relax more and more deeply that actually brings achievement. Here it is important to point out that obsessive preoccupation with the posture's alignment will almost always bring negative results in the way of unwanted tension. Therefore, the symmetry of structure and the quest for its perfection can be deceiving. Just look at nature. Nowhere in nature will we find symmetry in the way humans define it. The branches of a tree are not symmetrical, nor equidistant, or even completely straight for that matter, and yet the tree thrives and grows healthy and tall. This means that the sooner we accept our imperfections and learn to be okay just the way we are, the faster our progress. By concentrating on relaxation, eventually the body will begin to correct and adjust imbalances of itself, or suggest to us how to work with the asymmetrical elements. Here there are two keys to remember. 1. The body wants to heal itself. And 2. The body has certain innate wisdoms we can trust. That said, the best way to deal with this dilemma is a balanced approach, to use both elements, alignment, structure, and relaxation, interchangeably. The phrase set it and forget it is appropriate here. In other words, do your best to set up your structure and then let go of it and work mainly with relaxation. The bottoms of the feet are the benchmark. The feet are the place through which all the forces of gravity must pass. There are literally thousands of gravity filaments, or vertical lines of force, throughout the body, all of which must be balanced and released from the top of the head, shoulders, down into the ground. In this way, the front, back, insides and outsides of the bottom of the feet each reveal the result of our progressive relaxation. The key here is evenness. Generally, when we stand, especially at first, some parts of the feet will feel more pressure than others. By tracing these excesses or deficiency up their respective meridians, we can find the source of the resistance or blockage. Once recognized, the next step is to relax and try to empty the suspect area and then continue to relax the relative muscles channels all the way down under the bottom of the foot. The goal here is equal pressure, no place too much or too little. Finally, with enough practice, even our feeling of this equal pressure inevitably disappears as we merge with the earth. When this is accomplished, we have effectively sunk the chi and created, at least in part, the highly prized state of sang. The 5 points of the foot. There are 5 locations on the bottom of the feet, knowledge of which will greatly aid in our quest. They are Yongchuan, kidney 1 point, the bubbling well, the center of the heel, the big ball, located behind the big toe, second toe, the little ball located behind the pink, fourth toe. And lastly, the center point, equidistance between the tip of the toes and back of the heel. This point is located directly below Qieshi point, stomach 41, when standing in Wu Qi posture. Tie Chi point can be found on the midpoint of the transverse crease of the ankle in a depression of the two tendons. There is a sixth point which also proves very useful. This is Zhu Ling Qi point, gallbladder 41, and when properly opened has the power to help release the hip, especially the side of the hip. Zhu Ling Qi point is located on the top of the foot towards the outside, behind the fourth metatarso-phalangeal joint in a depression lateral to the tendon of extensor digiti minimi. When checking to see if your qi has sunk, these locations assist in simplifying the task of isolating and resolving blockages. It is important to note that focusing on the bubbling well will cause energy to rise, and focusing on the bottom of the heel will cause energy to descend. Focusing on the center point will ideally allow energy to ascend and descend simultaneously. Wu Qi posture, the quickest way to the spine. By leaving our arms relaxed at our sides as we do in the Wu Qi standing posture, our attention more naturally stays inside the torso. Test this for yourself. First, stand with your hands at your sides for a minute or so. Then raise your arms and form the embracing the tree, holding the ball posture, metal posture, and maintain that for a minute. Notice that as soon as you raise your hands, your conscious attention naturally tends to shift to the arms and upper body. Finally, return your arms to the sides of the body, Wu Qi posture, and notice what happens. Your feeling awareness begins to leave the arms and return to the torso. In addition to this, the width of the feet can influence our ability to be aware of the spine. When we stand in a wide stand, shoulder width or wider, just as with the arm, our feeling awareness tends to move to the outside of the body. On the other hand, when we position the feet at hip width or narrower, of necessity we must stand taller, that is, stretch the body more vertically. This of itself brings greater awareness to the spine. The qi adheres to the back. Students of the Tai Chi classics are quite familiar with this saying, but what does it mean and why is it important in our standing practice? In terms of Zhangzhuang, the qi gathering and adhering to the back primarily refers to the yang qi and the spine. What happens with enough practice is that more and more of the yin tissue in the front of the body, chest, abdomen, and innards, elongates and relaxes back towards the spine. This is especially true of the all-important psoas muscles. When this occurs, the yin tissue feels more insubstantial, while the yang qi of the back becomes more tangible. The importance of the spine, both for health and martial achievement, cannot be overestimated. On the health side, the nerves of the spine energize all the organs and glands and much more. In addition, every nerve message which passes from the brain to the body and vice versa goes through the spinal column. On the martial side, the spine is the central to issuing powerful qin. The position of the eyes. The use of the eyes depends upon one's goal in standing still practice. For health, it is beneficial to close the eyes. This makes focusing inside easier, and in my experience, it is useful no matter what your goal. With all methods, it is important to retain great relaxation in the eyes. For martial arts, it is often best to keep the eyes open. One reason for this is to cultivate our peripheral vision. Another reason is because at higher levels, the eyes are indispensable in the projection of power energy. In the first method, we use a specific focus on some distant object while holding our attention there. Engage our peripheral vision, or what some have termed eagle vision. A variation of this is to gaze into the distance with our eyes straight ahead, at the horizon for instance, with no specific focal point. For mental and spiritual cultivation of the Shen force, there are two other techniques that can be very useful. The half inside, half outside method often works well. First, one looks straight ahead while half closing their eyes. Let the eyelids relax and get heavy such that they obscure half of your field of vision. Then, and here's the trick, while keeping your attention focused straight ahead, relax the eye muscles and lower the eyes as if going to sleep. At this point, your attention, which is still looking straight ahead, will have become focused on your inner screen, eyelids obscuring the upper half of the objective world while your physical eyes are lightly focused downwards on your physical reality. As we maintain this relaxed focus, inside light will begin to accumulate, and this leads to the second method, the eyes shut method. This method is similar to the first, but with the eyes completely closed. Simply gaze straight ahead, close your eyes and relax them like going to sleep while maintaining your inner vision steady on your inner screen. This kind of seeing, using one's inner visual attention rather than what the physical eyes see, has as its basic the Taoist axiom of Wu Wei, effortless doing or doing as though not doing, and is used in such practices as circulation of the light. Two approaches to relaxation. The first approach involves using the mind to square everything away, so to speak. That is, going through the body step by step, from Bai Hui points and above the head, down through the bottoms of the feet, correcting alignments, opening the various points and locations by relaxing and adjusting as necessary. This method is useful when we have difficulty quieting the mind. Concentrating in this manner gives the mind something to do and tends to get rid of excessive thought. Once this is done, we find our center and automatically shift to the second method, which involves only feeling. The second approach is deceptively simple. Don't think, feel. This Bruce Lee aphorism uttered in the movie Enter the Dragon says it all. In other words, briefly use the mind to put your body in the most balanced posture possible. At that moment, find your center and then forget the mind and enter the realm of pure being. Finding your center. There is a number of ways to find one's center. The following method has been found to work extremely well. Place one hand on your navel and the other at the Mingmen on the lower back. Here it is important to note that there are actually two Mingmen. One is the acupuncture Mingmen, which lies just below the second lumbar vertebra, and the other is the Qigong Mingmen, which is found between the fifth lumbar vertebra and the sacrum. Once your hands are in position, move your feeling awareness from your front hand through the body to your back hand. Then move your feeling from your back hand to a point inside your body, halfway between back and front. Lastly, lower your hands to your side, to the Wu Qi posture, and just feel. For those who prefer more specificity, 5 locations can be used: the outside of the abdomen, the skin where your hand is touching, the low dantian, 2 to 4 inches inside the body, the center point, equidistant between front and back, the inside of the lumbar vertebra, 2 to 4 inches inside the body from the back, the outside of the back where your other hand is touching. At first, your center point location may be vague, but with continued practice it will become refined to a single point, after which many wonderful things begin to happen, such as the spontaneous opening of various channels, energy centers, and even the entire energy body itself. Remember to find your center by going from back to front, not the other way around. The reason for this is that we as human beings have much more awareness of the front of our bodies than we do of our backs. Without going from the back first, there's a tendency to skew our awareness of the center point. The importance of hardwiring. In standing still, as with all the internal martial arts, there are many embedded layers of deeper and deeper integration, body coordination and application. On the physical side, this includes bone alignments, opening and closing the joints, stretching the tissue linearly and spiraling the tissue. On the Neikong side, there are also many phases such as working with the left and the right Qigong channels, working with the central channel, working with the organs and glands, etc. Hardwiring is the mechanism that enables the linkage of the many parts of the body to a central location, in this case, the low dantian center. Later in advanced practices, this central focus can be in other areas, like the middle and upper dantian, and even multiple regions. But for health and indeed martial power, for now we'll focus exclusively on the low dantian or navel area. This method is most suitable to Zhangzhuang standing still, as well as the other internal arts. Judicious use of hardwiring allows us to actualize the embedded layers of coordination available in each posture or movement. On a physical level, what we do is focus on one particular part of the body at a time in relationship to a central point, in order to create what some have called a dimmer switch. That is the ability to activate part or all of one's unified energy at will by focusing on just one energy center. For now, two basic examples should suffice to clarify the technique. The first method uses breathing to create the linkage, while the second relies on repetitive movement. The breathing method. Choose a part of the body. In the beginning, this should probably be somewhere in the torso. For example, we'll use the upper back. Next, focus your breathing in the low dantian for a few rounds until you feel a relative evenness between the inhale and the exhale. A feeling of body relaxation begins to occur. During this process, you will have sensed a gentle expansion and condensing in the lower abdominal area. Now, quietly shift your attention to your upper back and feel it expand and condense with the abdomen. Continue this process for a number of rounds, while periodically shifting your feeling awareness back and forth between the two areas. With continued practice, you will almost be able to be aware of the two locations simultaneously. I say almost because our brain has the ability to switch between the two places at lightning speed, such that it almost feels simultaneously. I'm speaking about our conscious awareness here. First we feel this, then we feel that, only really fast. However, there is another method which can be superimposed or join the two locations completely. For that, we must access our peripheral feeling awareness, while basically letting go of our fixed conscious focus and allowing it to become more amorphous. Here's how. Focus your conscious feeling awareness in your physical center, which falls on the plane of the navel area, specifically halfway between the navel and the outside of the back. Now, while keeping some of your conscious feeling awareness there, let your peripheral feeling awareness open to the region of the upper back. Feel the two locations rise and fall in union. Later in the Neikong practices, you can create a sphere in your center and feel it expand and condense, taking whatever parts of the body you desire to link with it. Later, these spheres will begin to rotate, similar to the dantian rotation famous in Chen Tai Chi style. This turning or spinning is important because of how it amplifies, propels and accelerates the Qi. Eventually, hardwiring will include the entire body, from head to toe and from inside to outside. When accomplished, our center will now act much like a dimmer switch in its ability to power the body's overall energetic state, either up or down. That is, increase or decrease it at will. In order to continue the hardwiring procedure, repeat the earlier basic process to link each region to the center, one at a time. Please note, this should first start with the exterior muscles and then proceed inward to the deeper parts of the body and organs. Now, for the moving method. This technique uses all the principles of the previous method, only now we apply the same focus while moving, say in Tai Chi form movements, for example. So while doing each movement singly and repeatedly, we look at one part of the body in relation to what the center is doing. Let's choose the knee. What are our knees doing in relationship to the lower abdomen during a particular movement? Are they coordinating, retaining their alignment, expanding and condensing in unison, sending and receiving, opening and closing together as one? The progression of hardwiring begins with individual areas of the body being linked to the center, but from there it expands step by step to include more locations simultaneously until eventually everything is linked in. A good way to proceed after attaining the basic individual mastery is to use the external six harmony. This involves hardwiring certain parts of the body to each other in addition to the abdomen. For example, we can work the linkage between the elbows and knees and then later use multiple pairs such as shoulders and hips and elbows and knees. In Zhang Zhuang standing still, the easiest way to effect linkages both to the abdomen as well as from one part to another is by using the breath. With the abdomen method, breathe into the lower abdomen and abdominal region until you begin to feel a gently rounded sensation, like a sphere getting larger on the inhale and smaller during the exhale. Next, while keeping a percentage of your feeling awareness in your abdomen, divert the rest of your feeling awareness to the region you wish to hardwire. Relax the region as you inhale and expand the abdomen, allowing it to open and condense in unison with the dantian. As you continue cycling your breath, you can check on both locations by rapidly moving your feeling awareness between the two. When you get it right, you will find that the rhythmic expansion and contraction of the two locations and the breath will have activated the universal pulse. This is the breathing of the earth and the world around us, including the sun, moon, planets, and stars. Once this is in place, all the body's tissue will be moving in concert as the qi circulates, uninhibited. At that point, you are well on your way to achieving what the classics call stillness in motion. Eventually, while the majority of your conscious feeling awareness is held in your center, your peripheral feeling awareness allows you to simultaneously feel what the rest of the body is doing.